This is the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast with your host, Greg Jameson. Influencer marketing is the process of identifying, researching, engaging, and supporting the people who create high-impact conversations with your customers. On each episode, I talk with industry leaders, business rock stars, and internet celebrities who contribute their knowledge about influencing others and growing your influence. Welcome to the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. I'm your host, Greg Jameson, and this is a super exciting day. Now, if you've been following this podcast for any period of time, you may have noticed that there hasn't been any episodes for a few weeks, and I actually did this on purpose. The reason is that I am basically relaunching the podcast, starting with today's episode. You might want to consider this episode number 1. Now, at the same time, you might be asking, well, why didn't you just start a new podcast then? And there was a couple of really good reasons for this. One, of course, is any followers that are already part of this community. I certainly didn't want to lose them. But equally as important is I've had some really good interviews over the past year and a half of creating this podcast. And those interviews, not only are they necessary for historical purposes, but there's some great content in there from some of my guests. And I certainly didn't want to lose that. In fact, later this year, I'm going to go ahead and make the commitment right now publicly. I am going to be producing a book called Masters of the Digital Universe that's going to include information from some of these masters of the digital universe that are out there. The other part of this relaunch here is I basically have a new structure to the podcast. Previously, everything has been simply interviewing other people. And with the relaunch here of 20 Minutes of Influence, I'm now going to be taking you more behind the scenes of some actual technical things that you can do both on your website and in the marketing sense in order to get some real results for your business. So it's not just going to be talking to other people, although we are still going to include interviews. I am going to be giving you some very concrete information, starting right today with this new version 2, episode 1. Let's call it that. 20 Minutes of Podcast, 20 Minutes of Influence podcast, version 2. All right, let's go ahead and get started. As I said, my name is Greg Jameson. I am the president and founder of a company called Web Stores Limited, where we really help people to sell more online. And that's our mission statement at Web Stores Limited, is we want to help you sell more online. So I'm going to start out this podcast with a series of 7 different topics that are going to benefit you in reaching that goal. Now, all of those episodes may not air sequentially. I may intersperse that with doing interviews with people still. So the new format here is going to be, you get to listen to me, you get to learn from me, but I know I don't know everything, so you're still going to get to learn from some other experts that are out there in the field. So as I said here, I have got a 7-part series that I want to share with you. I'll go ahead and tell you what they all are because, like I said, they may not air sequentially. The first is to get found. Getting found, obviously, is super important for anyone that has a website out there, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The second one is going to be getting clicked on. Once somebody finds you, you want to actually click on you so that you can get their business at some point. The third one is to get them to stay. They found you, they clicked on you, now you want them to stay on your website for some period of time. And we're going to talk about how you can do that. Then you want to get repeat visitors. You want them to come back after they do leave. In fact, you want them to come back over and over and over again, so that they can start to build that know, like, and trust factor with you. And we're going to show you some ways that you can accomplish that. We're going to have an episode on getting social, helping to build that know, like, and trust factor, and balancing your post between personal and business. Then we're going to have an episode on getting endorsed. This is really a key component of the influencer effect, which was one of my books, but getting endorsed is a way of basically utilizing other people's audiences to bring them to you. And then the final part of this particular mini-series here is going to be getting more sales. We've got them to your website now. We've got them looking around your website. We've got them staying there. But how do you actually convert them into selling them something? So that's what the 7-part series is about. Today is the first of those. It's getting found. How do people see you on the internet? And specifically, we're talking here about search engines. Obviously, people are going to see you by the content that you create and you put out there on social media, and that is a huge factor as well. But how do people find you when they go to search for you? Now, most people think that if I just type in the name of my company, like Web Stores Ltd., that is a search. Well, yeah, technically, I guess it is. And Google obviously considers that to be a search. They think everything is a search. But the reality is that if I know the company that I'm looking for, that's not really a search. I just want to go to their website. In fact, I see people that all the time they go to the Google search bar and they type in mywebsite.com. You can do that, but most people will actually go to the address bar and type in mywebsite.com. So that's not really what we're looking for. What we're looking for is somebody searching for your website based upon what products and services you provide. So let's say, for example, that you sell peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. The name of your company might be bobsmithpb&j.com, but what you really want to get found for is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So that being the case, your search term here is going to be peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And you want to come up on the first page for that search term. Now, the reality is that when you have a really broad search term like that, you are going to have a ton of competition. And it is extremely unlikely that you are going to break in a very quick manner into the first page utilizing a rather generic search term like that. So instead, what you want to do is you want to figure out what the long tail search terms are based around your particular keyword phrase. So let's say that you have a gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Your long tail search term might be gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with homemade bread. Now you're getting a little bit more specific. And you might, in fact, be able to rank for that long-term keyword phrase. The good thing about this is that not only might you be able to rank for that, but people that are searching for gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on homemade bread, they know exactly what they're looking for, and they are much more likely to convert and click on your website than if you just had a shorter term that was more generic. So the best way to find out what these long tail keyword terms are is to actually go in and do a keyword search. Now, Google actually has a tool for doing this. It's called Keyword Tool. And if you have a Google ad account, you can go in there and search for some of the long tail keywords that people might be searching on. The problem with that, of course, is that Google's trying to sell you ads. And so they're going to display keywords to you that they think they can sell you an ad for. That may or may not be the best long tail keyword for your particular product or service. So rather than using the Google keyword tool, there are some other options out there. One of the better ones is put out by a guy named Neil Patel. And his tool is, I'm actually going to go and look it up here right now. Make sure that I get it correct for you. Okay, Neil Patel's keyword tool is called Ubersuggest. And you can get it just by going to ubersuggest.com. And that is a great way to find out what some of the long tail keywords are that people are searching on based around your more generic search term. One of the great advantages of Ubersuggest is that it is totally free. So that's what I would recommend that you do to find this long tail keyword. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to do is to go out there and make some modifications to your posts utilizing that long tail keyword. The best way that I have found to very quickly get on page one is to create a video. It's absolutely amazing. It's like something like 80% of the internet content being consumed today is video, yet most businesses are not taking full advantage of this. You've probably heard that YouTube is owned by Google. And because of that, what you want to do is you want to create a video that you put up on YouTube that utilizes this long tail keyword term that we just talked about and then points back to your website. We actually have a software product that helps us to determine what the competition is on YouTube to see if we're going to be able to rank for a particular keyword term or not. And then you go in and you create this YouTube video. The video does not need to be long. It can be just a minute long, no more than 2 minutes. The most important thing that you want to get across on this video is this long tail keyword search term that you're trying to go after. And so you put that search term in the title of the video. You put it in the first sentence of the description of the video. You put it in the tags of the video. Basically, you want to make sure that that keyword term is in all the important places on the written part of your YouTube video descriptions. Then you put a link in the description pointing to a page on your website, and that page on your website is going to have the same long-term or long-tail keyword term, and so it's in the title, and again, it's in the body or the copy, the content of the page that you're pointing to. Now, what happens is that Google goes out there and owning YouTube, it goes through all the YouTube videos as soon as they're uploaded, and it goes, oh, here's a link in this description that's talking about gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on homemade bread. And it goes out to, it follows that link, and there's a page on your website that's titled Gourmet Peanut Butter and Jelly Sandwiches on Homemade Bread. Google looks at that and goes, this must be really important for that search term, because they created a video and put it up on YouTube and pointed it back to their website for that search term. Now, utilizing all these techniques of putting that keyword term in the title of the video, in the description of the video, in the tags of the video, if you have run it through the software to make sure that it's going to, in fact, rank for that term, then it's entirely likely that the instant that you upload that video, well, maybe not the exact instant, but within the first minute, it is going to rank on page 1 of YouTube. Now, YouTube isn't Google. YouTube is, in fact, the second most popular search engine out there. So if you can rank on page 1 of YouTube that quickly, that's incredible. Now, here's the really good thing, is if you can actually rank a YouTube video on page 1 of YouTube, Google might, in fact, pick that up. I have seen that happen time and time again. I recently did one for a salsa company in Texas, and I created a video called the Best Gourmet Texas Salsa. And if you go in there and you do a Google search for that, their video actually comes up on page 1 of Google as well as page 1 of YouTube. So the point of all this with today's episode, of course, is that we are trying to get traffic to our website. We want to be seen. We want to get found. And the best way to do that is with a YouTube video. So that's what I've got for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And let's make sure that we keep this going, that you share this content with your fellow business owners, anyone that might be interested in this type of content. Share this episode with them and get them to come back, because we're actually going to be talking to some people here in the not too distant future, specifically about, we will interview people about creating YouTube videos and the impact that that's had on their business. So next time we will be talking about getting clicked on. Until then, this has been Greg Jameson with the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to today's episode of 20 Minutes of Influence. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you are interested in booking myself as a speaker at one of your events, or are interested in any of my coaching programs, please visit gregjameson.com.